Hey again, guys. Do you know what I like to do when I'm brainstorming? I like to look at some baseball cards. I wanted to talk to you today about why we need Beckett. There have been a lot of great companies in America. Some of them went out of business, some of them got bought out, but some of our greatest companies have been around since the 1800s. We have fantastic old companies like Coca-Cola and Jack Daniels. And in our hobby, we need Beckett. We need Beckett. If you grew up around the time that I did, or heck, for several decades, Beckett was synonymous with card prices, card checklists. They changed the hobby. Dr. Beckett changed the hobby. And you know that you've created something special when your word is synonymous with something. People wouldn't say, I want to make a copy. They would say, I want to make a Xerox. They wouldn't say, I want a tissue. They'd say, I want a Kleenex. And that's how it was with Beckett. What's Beckett say? What's the Beckett? Meaning, what's the value? What's the book value? What's the Beckett? Beckett is one of the great American companies and one of the greatest companies ever in our hobby. And I don't want to see it go by the wayside. At one time, Beckett was the most popular to grade modern cards. So I started to think, I want to do everything I can to help Beckett survive. And we certainly need more players in the hobby. We can't just have one grading company. And I started to think about, what can Beckett do? What can Beckett do? And just spitballing. I'm not a fan of the numerical grade. And I'd love to see the old Beckett style grading myself. And with the good, the VG, the excellent, the mint, and leave it up to the collector as far as I appeal. And that would be something different. However, lots of collectors disagree with me, and they like a numerical system. They want to know the exact number. Even though fours, you could take 20 fours and none of them look alike, Some of them look like sixes and some of them look like twos. You just, it's all over the place. So if you're going to go with a numerical number, Beckett is known for their subgrades, and that's what collectors like. That's one of the things they really like about Beckett. Put a subgrade in there for eye appeal or something. Add that into the equation so it's just not a technical grade. The fact that people will send their cards to Mike Baker and services like that to get another opinion on whether it's a great 4 or a lower 4 just shows you there's a need for that, right? The other thing, let's get away from the baggy with the card. It just detracts from the look of the card. We don't need that baggy anymore. Let's have a nice crisp holder. And let's have another service that we offer. I would venture to say maybe most of the vintage collectors I know want to slab it for protection and authentication. And I've always thought about starting a grading company. I guess it technically wouldn't be grading, it would be an authentication company where And I would use this service. I would prefer this service where you slab it, label it, and have it authenticated, unaltered kind of thing. So that I could have a slab, I could have it labeled, and I could know it's authentic and unaltered. And it's up to me to decide on the look of the card. I'm simply slabbing it and labeling it and protecting it. And I know a lot of vintage collectors would use that service and put that service at a lower rate. And you don't have to scrutinize every tiny detail of the card. I think we need, let me just say that, everybody tries to compete head to head, right? And PSA has locked down the flippers and the investors and the buyers who want to pay, 100, 1,000 times more for that extra grade. They've nailed that down. And so if you're a seller, you want a PSA slab, that's where you're going to get your money. But the collectors have been left in the dust. The collectors have been left in the dust when it comes to pricing, when it comes to how long we have to wait for it, when it comes to explaining to us why it got an A, any kind of communication whatsoever. And I just feel like Beckett has the opportunity to get back to its roots. You know, us old collectors, I think we have a lot of loyalty to Beckett. And, you know, we associate the name with trust, with collecting. So why not totally change your marketing and your angle back to focus on us collectors? You know, something along the lines of Beckett, when your collection matters. You know, something collecting wise. And I know a lot of people want to look at magazines and stuff on their phone or their computer, but a lot of us still like that old school magazines and stuff. You know, a lot of us, I know from talking to people, I mean, we're so desperate to look at cards and look through something. We read these auction books even if we're not planning on buying anything or bidding on anything. So the Beckett Vintage Magazine is one of the greatest things in the hobby. And absolutely, the Sports Card Monthly. And of course, you know, the other sports are nice too. I know I like the Beckett Vintage, #1. Sports Card Monthly, just one magazine that encompasses all sports. Then you have your die-hard baseball fans, your die-hard football, and you have those other magazines. But, you know, a lot of the other magazines have just turned into one big giant advertisement for auction houses. And, you know, collectors are craving information on sets and stuff that you do in Beckett Vintage. It's just phenomenal. And the other thing is this almanac. You know, when I was growing up, when you would try to complete a set, right? You didn't know back then, it wasn't easy to find. We didn't have pop reports or, you know, the PSA website to go on and kind of look at the different number checklist. And so if you were trying to complete a set and you knew which numbers you were missing, you didn't know who the players were, you turned to Beckett. Beckett had a checklist. I used Beckett more for a checklist than I ever used it for a price guide. And, you know, those prices, they vary. And it's just a book value. Get away from the pricing. Do more checklisting. That's important to collectors, especially set collectors. And you do this almanac, and I have to tell you, with all due respect, the only people that would buy this are people that never opened it. And you sell it online, or you sell it wrapped in cellophane so you can't see it ahead of time. So you check out and you take it home. Nobody can read this. Nobody. I put magnification, I still struggle. It's a pain. It's a phenomenal idea, and I want something like this because it's hard to find football checklists and hockey checklists and basketball checklists, and I want it for that. But my God, separate this into separate books, separate sports, because you can't read it. You can't see anything. Oops, sorry. I want Beckett to succeed. I'll do whatever I can to help. Whatever I can to help. You want me to come over there and help you? I'll quit my job tomorrow. We need Beckett, and we need to honor Dr. Beckett. And if you want, you could sponsor my card museum. We'll do it in Myrtle Beach, a constant influx of new people coming into the area. We have the Cal Ripken Baseball Center, constantly baseball teams from around the country come in there, and we'll have a history of cards, the history of Beckett magazine and price guides, and we will show cards people never saw before. Let's do it. Hey, thanks for watching.